This is FE Peer Review. The date is July the 21st, 2024. Flatzoid, His Lies and Self-Deception. I'm scripting this video to keep it concise and precise. Flatzoid considers himself a good Christian. In my book, a good Christian attempts to live up to the ideals described by Jesus. That means not lying without good cause, not denigrating others, rather loving them, and desiring the best for humanity, for all people. My purpose in making this video is to make it just a little bit harder for Flatzoid to maintain his self-deception by giving him the simple, clear information we all know he already knows, but which he chooses to ignore. Here's the background. Rachie, whom I expect most of you know, but if you don't, please check out the links in the description. Rachie put out a video demonstrating the idea that two people in different locations would not be sharing the same horizontal plane. It was a very good short video and I recommend it. Flatzoid and his friends watched it on a live stream, and after taking a moment to insult and denigrate Rachie, he made a deceitful response. Rachie in turn responded to that very well, pointing out the obvious flaw in Flatzoid's demonstration, and pointed out that if he had had an education in art, as he claimed, he would certainly have known the truth about the perspective issue being discussed. Let's do a quick walkthrough of Rachie and Flatzoid's videos. This will be brief. Then we will turn to a little diagram I have prepared for Flatzoid to help him see the obvious. Rachie's main point was that objects at eye level of the observer remain at eye level, and those objects above and below rise or drop with distance. She found a very nice video by an art teacher that demonstrated this. This is a screenshot she pulled from that video. And this is Flatzoid's deceitful response. I left him a comment pointing out the problem, but I expect he will block that comment. He can't block this video though.
I can't believe this, Rachie. Okay. Looking level, okay? Like that. Or let's say I'm looking level like that. When you move away, does your angle change with perspective?
Yeah.
So the further, now this, remember, this is orthographic you're seeing, okay? So you're just moving away further. Still the same horizontal. But now, let's do it with the camera. You are the observer. Look what's happening when I move the bottle further and closer to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's rising and
Yeah.
it's lowering.
Nice.
It's rising and it's lowering. That's what's happening, Brenda. Distance.
Richie.
Oh,
What does it have to do with horizontal?
Okay, I'll try to wing this part without a script. So Flatzoid, when he starts his setup at this time 36:39, he says, "You're the observer." And at that moment, he points to his webcam, finger going right up to the webcam. And as you can see, he's pointing towards the bottom of the image frame, and he's looking down into the camera. This suggests quite clearly that the camera is low and pointed upward. We will come back to that when we study the diagram. At 36:46, he starts with his bottle very close to the camera, and then he pulls the bottle back away from the camera, noting that the bottle cap at the top goes down. Now he has suggested that bottle cap is at eye level. We're going to see clearly that it's not. For a start, we can actually look up to the underside of the bottle cap. We can see underneath and inside the bottle cap. That means we're looking up into the bottle cap, which by definition means it cannot be at our eye level. Now also look at the very bottom of the frame. We see the label on the juice bottle, and there's a purplish section, and just above the K in the word thank you, there is a little bit of white showing up, just a few little pixels of white. I don't know if you can see that on the screen, but you'll see what that becomes in the next image 2 seconds later. Here we are 2 seconds later. He has pulled the bottle towards himself away from the camera. We can now see his eyes. The bottle cap is dropped down, and we start to see text on the label going up, rising up from the bottom of the frame of the image. And he continues to pull the bottle toward himself. Here we are 1 second later. He has pulled the bottle all the way close to himself, And yes, the green cap has dropped further still, and we see yet more of the label rising up. Putting those three images side by side, we see the bottle cap dropping, and we see the label rising. And if you look at the three images and you ask what part of the object is neither rising nor falling, that would be the eye level of the observer. Let's take a look at that. I've got a little green guideline in here going horizontally across the screen, and you can see that it aligns with the top of the label, and that in all three images that label pretty much stays in the same position in the image, in the frame. So that there is the eye level of the camera. Now we're going to move to a little diagram I've made in SketchUp layout, which will show all of this orthographically. It's not intended to be a geometrically perfect to scale rendering. It's just simply to demonstrate the important points so that Flatzoid can no longer hide from himself, or I should rather say it will be that much harder for Flatzoid to hide from himself the truth that he claims to seek. So here's our little diagram. Like I said, it's not intended to be geometrically perfect and scale measure drawing. I don't have the height of Flatzoid's desk. I don't have the height of his camera above the desk. But that kind of detail is not necessary for the purpose of explaining the principles at work. If Flatzoid has a problem, he can get those measurements and figure it out himself. It's not my job to spoon feed an adult. Okay, so here's the desk on the right, and here's his chair on the left. I've shown his microphone because we could see the microphone in the image, and it was pretty much at the eye level of the camera. And I've shown another object. Let's zoom in here. We call this one here his camera, and this here's the microphone. And I've got a bottle off to the side here, which we're going to use. And also this triangle is going to represent the field of view of his camera. Okay. I'm going to assume that Flatzoid's floor is effectively flat and level. That's this line at the bottom, the heavy line. I'm also going to assume that his desk is effectively flat and level, therefore parallel to his floor. And then if we look at the camera, I have drawn a dashed line. That represents a line that is parallel to the floor. And if you project that line in 3 dimensions as a plane, that's a plane that's parallel to the plane of the floor. Pretty much passes through the microphone as we saw. And if Flatzoid were sitting here and his head were up here, his chest would be here, we'd be looking at his chest, which is what we see in his video. So here I have put the bottle on the table. You'll see that the bottle has a cap and a label and a little red thing that indicates the text on the label. You'll also note that the top edge of that label is on that level line centered on the lens of the camera. I'm going to step in a little closer. We're going to take that bottle and we're going to move it back. And we see that the top edge of the label is still on that level line. Put it back to where it was. Now, if we look at a line, I haven't drawn it in, but if you imagine a line that starts at the camera lens, centered on the camera lens, and it goes up to the cap, and another line that goes from the camera lens down to the red portion of the label. So one of those lines is above the eye level horizontal line, and the other is below the eye level horizontal line. As I move this bottle back, the line to the cap remains above the eye level horizontal line, and the line to the red text on the label remains below the eye level horizontal line. So what's above stays above, and what's below stays below. And what's at eye level stays at eye level. So you may ask, well, why is eye level, in that case, not centered on the frame? In Flatzoid's video, it appeared eye level was down near the bottom of the frame. Let's bring in this triangle here. This represents the field of view of Flatzoid's camera. So we've got a center line And when the bottle was close to the camera, we couldn't see the red part of the label, the text on that label. But we were looking up and seeing the underside of the cap and Flatzoid's face up behind. As we move that bottle back and forth, pay attention to the label, the red text on the label. It comes into view at the bottom of the image at the bottom of the field of view of the camera. And if I put it back to its original position, we see that it drops out of view. So that's what we were seeing in Flatzoid's video, where the text on the label that said great value shows up as he moves the bottle away. So Flatzoid, eye level in the frame of the image is not necessarily at the center line of the image horizontally. It can be if the camera happens to be set dead level, but your camera is pointed up at your face. You're above the camera and that camera is looking up at you and up at the underside of the bottle cap. So you can't assume that the center of the frame is eye level. Really, it's as simple as that. There's no room for deception. I'm kind of convinced at this point that anybody who is deceived by the things that people like Flatzoid do wants to be deceived, because their lies are so blatant and so easy to refute that I can't see how anyone could possibly fall for them who doesn't choose to fall for them. I'm going to end this video and perhaps all my future Flat Earth related videos with this little statement, which I will read out here. Until Flat Earthers produce the simplest and most powerful of all Flat Earth proofs, a 2-scale, 2D Flat Earth map that actually works, they have nothing. Until they produce one, there's no reason to take them seriously on anything else related to the discussion. We have a map of the Earth, a 3D map. It's spheroidal, and it works. Is it perfect? Maybe not. But until Flat Earthers can produce something that works better, it's the best we've got, and we have no reason to discard it. Thank you. This was FE Peer Review. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Please do remember to give it a thumbs up and leave a comment if you've got anything to add. I always love to read your comments. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.